All right, we're going to get right to it. Welcome to the show. You know how I do, I just get right to it. Let me pull up all my stuff real quick. Hold on. I see y'all. You got to hit number one on your phone if you want me to, if you want me to put you, bring you in. You got to hit number one on your phone. All right. What is this right here? All right, y'all got me working hard. I'm here to give you what you want. All right, let's see. All right, so we're gonna start with this. Look like Texas right here. What this is? Texas, Dallas, Texas. 469-0368. You on the line? What's on your mind?
Hey Yusef, how you doing, man?
Doing good, bro.
So I got a couple questions, just kind of like general questions. I've been listening to you for about 5 years. Learned a lot. I've been a member of SC University on and off a few times. Just learning things. So with the rules of the game, I'm always telling people about your channel and your work, and it's funny because I always forget. And even right now, I can remember the three of the rules. There's always one I'm missing, and I'm trying to figure out how to lock it in. I always remember being on at all costs. There isn't any money. Don't participate in public controversy. But what's the fourth rule? There's like one.
Public and private don't mix. That's the first one. That's the one you got to know.
Yeah, public and private don't mix. Yeah, no, I get the concept from studying. You can't public law and private law don't mix. I get it because I listen to you all the time telling people like they'll be talking about something in your chat and you'll be like, man, like, come on, man, like public and private is a law thing. It's not a figurative definition. It's a legal definition.
Exactly. Okay. It's really, I should say public. When people be getting confused, they're like, why are you in the public? And it's really public law and private law don't mix. There's public laws that govern the public, and there are private laws that govern the private. The public laws that govern the public are the Constitution. The Constitution is the big one because a lot of people think they have constitutional rights. You do if you're a 14th Amendment citizen. You got civil rights, okay? But your fundamental rights, your rights that are given to you by the creator of the boundless universe on the private side, those are called your rights that pre-existed before the Constitution. That another man can't give you, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Another man can't give you that. Your fundamental rights, as the Supreme Court likes to say. All right, so the Constitution is a document that doesn't apply to private citizens. It only applies to government. It's a document that creates the government and is a document that limitates the government. That's what it is. And a lot of people think every state has their own constitution to form their own government and give their government powers and restrict their government. It's like if you look at it like a trust document, it makes all the sense. It's just a trust document. You the settler, the creator of the trust, you have an indenture agreement. You tell the trustees what to do. All right. Now, once the trustees got that power, you can't take it. Like if it's an irrevocable trust, you can't never take it back from them. And the trustees are all powerful because they own all the property in the trust and everything. But they got to follow the directions that you gave them. So that's the same with the government officials. But what they have done is they've learned how to circumvent over time, how to circumvent those restrictions by fooling you, by offering you benefits and privileges. They had to get you some sort of hook to come over into their jurisdiction. Because, see, prior to like in the early 1900s, the majority of the people lived in the country. Wasn't no cities. Wasn't no downtown, nothing or anything like that. People were spread out all over the country. You had your own house, you had land, it was like that. You grew your own food. Those are the things. So, yeah, go ahead.
My question is with this stuff. Okay, so like, I'm gonna give you a little bit of my understanding based off what you told me in my own research. So basically, the Constitution when it was drafted and they ratified it and then they before. I mean, they obviously added to it with amendments, but it was created as a public trust, right? So it was like, hey, we're gonna put in trust these things, and like you said, it creates and limits government. But when it was written, citizens weren't taxed, like the way they are now.
Well, that's because
Citizens
citizens didn't take benefits and privileges from the government. You only taxed on benefits and privileges.
Right.
All right. You didn't start benefits and privileges until 1933.
Right. House Joint Resolution 192 and then the New Deal and all that. Yeah, I'm 100% with you on that. I just, what I'm wondering, like the opinion I want to know from you about that material is this. I mean, I've looked into it as best I could just from research, but it's like, okay, I've seen the work you did where you talked about, the Constitution, or not the Constitution, I'm sorry. The Republic is a house that nobody lives in. It's still around. It's just nobody's living in it.
Right.
And then the democratic, democracy, what is a legislative democracy created in Washington, D.C. based off of 1933, 1938, and other various acts and things that they did expand the executive branch throughout the, several decades following afterwards, right? Is that accurate, you think?
Well, no. The federal government has always been around, and they've always had the powers that they had. They power basically stems from Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. Okay, that's the territorial jurisdiction of the United States. Okay, so they've always had territories. The federal government, when they go to war and they take land, that land becomes a territory before it becomes a state. Like Florida was a territory, and some of these states in the United States of America, they were territories, and then they became states. Okay, when they're a territory, they're completely under the authority of Congress. Okay, so you have Guam, it's completely under the authority of Congress. Puerto Rico, American Samoa, the U.S. Virgin Islands. Notice they call it U.S. Virgin Islands. They like to put U.S. in front of everything. Right. U.S. Postal Service, U.S. citizen, U.S. District Court. You know what I'm saying? U.S. person. These are identifying territorial properties of the United States. And United States in the sense that United States is the federal government in the 10-mile square in Washington, D.C. So they gave everybody a federal citizenship. This is what the 14th Amendment gets into. I was just watching a panel of professors discussing this yesterday. I was listening to them, but the whole time I listened to them, the one thing I never saw the professors say is give an explanation of the definition of United States. That's where everybody gets confused. They don't understand that there are three different senses of the word United States. And I'm going to give Paul Andrew Mitchell his props. He got a document called the Federal Zone. And I think he does a very good job of doing this. And let's look at his document. It's called the Federal Zone. What the hell is this right here? I'm going to put it on the screen for you so y'all can see it.
Okay.
Hold on, man. The federal, that's what he called it, the federal zone. And then the Supreme Court picked up the word too, and they started using it, the federal zone. They use that word too. So federal zone is a synonym for territory. All right, so let's see, the federal zone. Right. Let's see. And he has a website called supremelaw.org. Supremelaw.org. He has a pretty good, I give people their props. So if you go, I'm going to put this, let me see if I can put it in the chat. Yeah, I think
Can I ask this about the whole way the federal territories work?
Can you ask me about what? This is the best business. Can you ask me?
I just want to clarify. I'm just trying to clarify. So I think what you're saying about the federal territories, when those states before they became states, they were federal territories and so they were under Congress. But like, what happened when they decided to get into doing the Social Security card and getting everybody signed up for it?
Well, that's what they call, right? Under the Buck Act, this this overlay over the United States. Everything is a federal. The Social Security number is a federal territory. You might as well call that a territory. So everybody who has one, they fall under the territory of the United. That's what they call a U.S. citizen. A U.S. citizen has a social security number because
Right.
a U.S. citizen, huh?
Which is why we want to stop using that number.
Which is why you want to stop using the social security number. It's very simple. This shit is not complex. I think where people get confused, I got a video on my YouTube channel. It's called the Two United States of the Buck Act. I think it's called the Buck Act. The Buck Act. People should watch that video. I got these videos on my channel for a reason. I took a lot of time. I put a lot of time and effort into that video to show people the overlay so they can start visualizing it in their mind's eye of what we're talking about when we're talking about a federal zone. You have the republic right here, and then over it you have an invisible layer called a democracy. So you have states, and all the states, you have every state has two sides. It has the republic side, and it has the democratic, if you want to call it a democratic democracy or whatever, it has that side, okay, where the people who occupy that state, because they've elected to have a status of a beneficiary, meaning that it really breaks down to the fact that you can't take care of yourself. Because that's what the New Deal was all about. Right. We're talking about the Great Depression. That was the Great Depression. People were coming to the government for help. It would really behoove people to read the federal, the 1933, the discussion that they had on the House floor. Okay, and I have it on my website. I put it in the Facebook group and all over the place. But if you really take time to read that, the congressional record of 1933, and listen to the discussions that they were having about how they were going to solve this issue, one of the big questions that came up is how are we going to take care of the American people when the American people take care of us? We do pay their salaries. Government functions because we pay taxes. So how are they going to take care of us? If we don't have any money to pay taxes, how are they going to give us some money? And that's why one of the reasons they got rid of gold and silver. They got rid of gold and silver and established a Federal Reserve Bank where they borrow notes from them and then put those in circulation and made them legal tender. But for it to be constitutional, it had to be done in a territory, not in the republic. Because the only thing that can exist in the republic is gold and silver. So that's the loophole. The Federal Reserve operate, what they call them, Federal Reserve districts. Federal Reserve districts.
Right.
All right. They in their own territory. They not under the republic. So, and that loophole that Howard Freeman was talking about is in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, where it marks out their territories, the 10-mile square, Guam, American, Samoa, all of those are territories of the United States. And I'm going to tell you this, I even went so far as when I first got into this to get into American jurisprudence and try to get a thorough understanding of territory. It was a very, very difficult word for me to find. When they try to hide something from you, they make the definition of the word very difficult. The key to understanding is the key to get a thorough understanding of territory, but they don't want to expound on it. That's why you got to go and ask questions. These are your public servants, and this is why I came to the public, because people, you can't be afraid of your government. They public servants. They supposed to be honoring your constituency. They hold Capitol Hill acting like they kings, jumping out of Air Force One, got guards around them and all this old shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like, look, man, we selected you out of a group of us to go up there and vote to find issues to come back to our community, help our communities. They up there padding their pockets, giving money to Israel. How is giving money to Israel and the Ukraine helping people in the United States? The people in the United States so fucking dumbed down. They just dumb the fuck down. They are, man. It's dumbed down. They just bewildered. They're just sitting there watching these people feed billions of dollars into this country, and they just ain't saying shit. Goddamn president can't remember his name half the damn time. But go ahead.
I agree with what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying 100%. Here's what I would say. I would say, I mean, I have a couple of points. I mean, everything you're saying, I 100% agree with. One point is Israel. I have a term I've come up with for them. You want to know what it is?
What is it?
It's not real.
It's not real. That's pretty good.
It's not real.
That's pretty good.
I actually I'm sorry. I didn't come to that. Somebody else did, but you know what? I use it because it just fits too good. It's not real.
I'm not gonna bang on. I'm not gonna bang on Israel. All I'm going to do is tell people to go watch Congressman Cynthia McKinney. You do have whistleblowers out there. All right, so I'm gonna send you to someone who actually worked up there, who can explain to you what is going on. And you know that's why I start with things like 7 rules. Okay, let's get these rules down. There's a public and a private, and they don't mix. They don't ever mix them. Don't you ever mix them. If you follow that principle and you get into the law books and read the law books, you'll see that's very apparent. All right, they do not mix public and private. The Constitution ain't in the public. Taxes ain't in the private. All right, that's why you don't, anything private is tax exempt because there's no taxes in the private. There's only taxes in the public, and your rights aren't taxed. Right. Only benefits and privileges are taxed. If people understood that, we wouldn't have all these tax protesters because they really believe that having a job is a damn right when it's a privilege. It's a benefit and a privilege. Nobody have to hire you at their job.
Well, I mean, he said something the other night. I was listening to your show the other night. I mean, I'm a regular listener. I listen like about pretty much every show you put out. I listen to the show if I get time. And you pretty much said the other night, I mean, I already know about the whole public and private thing. I get that. And I understand tax negation and tax avoidance versus, tax evasion. It's a very different, there's a very different mixture of things going on. But I also understand that, like, hey, look, it's actually the area I like to, I have an own theory on this. I like to get your opinion on it. So I think you will give me guru wisdom on this point, right? Which, when you said on your show the other night, is look, if you're smart enough basically to figure out how to structure your life as a business and everything in your life is a business, then you can legally avoid taxes.
Yes, you
but
can.
If you're unwilling, when they said taxation is optional, that's what they meant. That's what you said.
That's it. That's exactly right. You don't want any income taxes. You don't want no income. That's the name of the game, is to structure yourself where you don't produce any income. Like when you have to finance a car in your Social Security number, you just produced income. If that's a $65,000 car, all your payments on that car is going to be counted towards some sort of income because it's going through a personal expense. It's not going to a business expense. They tax personal expenses. Right. This is what they're saying. They gave you Federal Reserve notes. They tell you what to do with Federal Reserve notes. They have said that Federal Reserve notes is only for the purpose of conducting business. So when you don't conduct business with Federal Reserve notes, they tax you for it because you're taking money out of the pool of business and put it for your personal expense. So it's not made for that. It's not made for, the tax laws ain't made for your personal expense. They had to make something for it because they had to make some allowance for, okay, these people don't know how to do business. All right. But everything that they do is for business purposes. Everything that I've seen the government, I've dealt with guys who trade negotiable instruments all over the planet. All right. And they have to get a humanitarian project. Everybody, before they get any money, they always have to have a humanitarian project or some sort of project that's going to benefit humanity. It's some sort of business project before anybody give you any money. Okay, the dinar, okay, the revaluation, they want a trust set up and that money to be redirected so it's some business expense. Everything that I have seen, if it's coming from the government, they're not taking money out in the public and putting it into the private. They're not going to do that. So any money that the government gives is for the public. That go for your secret trust account, all that shit right there, everything that everybody trying to get into. They're not giving you no money, no Federal Reserve notes, no Federal Reserve credits, nothing like that. If they do, it's called what? They got like IRS code. What is that? Charity work or something like that. They're going to give you permission because you're fulfilling some type of duty or role that government normally does, and you're taking that burden off of them. So they give you a
tax break.
Tax break. Yeah, give you a tax break.